Hi, I'm Carson Lay, and for our Freshman Engineering Design Day project, we designed and constructed a concrete canoe. The design requirements for our canoe were that it be made out of reinforced concrete, and that its length be no longer than 18 inches, its width be no longer than a third of its length, and that its depth be no larger than its width. In designing our canoe, we theorized that by maximizing the dimensions of our hull, the canoe would achieve the greatest flotation. This was due to our belief that as the volume of the canoe increases in size, the ratio of the water displaced to the amount of concrete used increases, which would lessen the density of the space our canoe occupies. We first drew out our design through various sketches and brainstorming, and we ended up settling on a 16-inch length by 5-inch wide by 4-inch deep design. We believed we would construct the canoe 2 weeks in advance to FEDD to allow time for a second and possibly third attempt if our previous designs failed, or if we needed to make any adjustments prior to the event.
Hi, my name is Austin Calton, and I'll be talking about the mixture and the pouring processes that we used for the concrete in our project. For the first step in this process, we mixed the concrete together using a ratio of 4 parts cement to 1 part water to 1 part foam aggregate. We then added these 3 ingredients together in a large bucket and used a wooden stir to mix them together. For the second step in our process, we lined the outer canoe mold with wax paper so that the concrete would not stick to this mold, which was made out of foam. For the third step, we poured in the concrete mixture until our canoe mold was half filled, and we then pressed in the inner mold into the outer mold, and continued to pour concrete to finish building the walls of our canoe. For the fourth step, after we had removed the canoe from the outer mold when the concrete had dried, some additional patchwork needed to be done. So for this, we mixed together an additional small amount of concrete and poured it around all of the edges of our canoe until the walls were roughly even all the way around. For the fifth and final step, after our canoe had finished drying for the second time, we began removing the foam from the inner mold of our canoe, and then began sanding the surface of our canoe to prepare it for testing.
Any work at all.
Oh my god. That's I thought you were holding it on.
Yeah.
Let's go. There it is. Okay, cool. Hey, how are we looking?
Dang. Me? It doesn't feel like all.
Nothing.
I'm Ethan Knowles, and I'm here to talk about the improvements we could have done to our concrete canoe FEDD project that I had with Henry, Austin, and Carson. And I've actually got the canoe right here, or finishing. And just one of the probably main ones we had was a time constraint that we had for the entire thing, since concrete needed about a week to completely harden and be 100% safe. But other than that one, our biggest problem was, maybe you can see right there, you can see where the disparity is. Up here is a darker color than out here. It's because we had to patch our canoe. So maybe if we had added more concrete to the very beginning portion of the mold, then we wouldn't have had to do that patch, and everything could have just ran smoother, and we wouldn't have had to use as much time for that point. But other than that, yeah, it all went smoothly. So yeah, thanks.
Hi, I'm Henry Feroz, and we were assigned the concrete canoe for our FEDD project. So the biggest thing I recommend for freshmen is to start as early as possible. Concrete takes about a week long to dry completely, and when it does cure, you might find problems. So concrete expands when it dries, so you might find that your concrete no longer fits within regulations, and also that cracks may appear. Cracks are going to make it weaker, so you may end up cracking in half, but it's also going to let water seep in, which is ultimately going to make it sink. So you want to start early enough so that you have time to fix it if you have these problems. Also, do your research. This is going to help you know what you're building and what your concrete mix should be. Also, it's going to help you think outside of the box. For example, one group made a canoe out of foam and coated it with concrete, so it was extremely buoyant and it held a ton of weight. So my recommendations is start early, think outside the box, and do your research.